have had access to a lot of marijuana use and abuse.
Children have lost their daily routines of what they were enjoying, depression, anxiety, obsessive symptoms. Things, are much harder.
They want human contact.
I'm shitting on these bitches when they do. Wish I could forgive and let it go, but they said I couldn't, and I went and did it on my own too. Now it's time to spread my wings and go. Yeah.
I have personally seen an increase of clients during the pandemic.
At least 4 to 5-fold increased. My sessions are almost always packed.
They don't have the safety net of the school, and there is a lot of difficulties with sort of small homes. Children don't have their daily activities, no sort of places to burn off their energy. Children have lost their daily routines of what they were enjoying. So that has led to a lot of issues with mental health.
I would say that the number of people who showed more manifestations of illness, which might have been quiescent in the past, certainly increased.
So I think when the awareness kind of built up again through our webinars and seminars, I think the consults really increased. And as of today, because post the second wave and all of that.
Initially, if I was invited for seminars, say 6 times in a year or 7 times in a year, this time I'm doing webinars twice a day. I'm doing 4 in a week, 5 in a week. Like right now I finished with JPM. It's just, it's coming out of my ears, but I think it is something which is really overwhelming people.
So it's a bit of both, to be honest. Yes, a lot of follow-ups that we did have initially dropped. And I think that's primarily, again, for 2 reasons amidst the pandemic. One was surprisingly no privacy. One would not imagine, right, that, yes, it is so convenient to work from home because you're saving the traveling time and you're saving on the traffic and all of that. And you could be anywhere and have a consult. So personally, I feel telemedicine for mental health has worked really in that favor for us and for me as a professional.
In recess, the musty that we do, we push each other, we give a tapli, we steal from each other's dabba. It's gone. The playgrounds are gone. Housewives saying that, my God, like at least my husband would go to work and I had the house to myself. Now he's there all the time and he's following me in the kitchen. So it's impacting the housewives, it's impacting the students, it's impacting people at work.
They're not being able to connect and see their loved ones. And that can be quite challenging. And I think that is causing a lot of difficulties with mental health, like depression, anxiety, obsessive symptoms. Things, are much harder.
Youngsters, for them also, it is they want to go out and but the isolation is hitting them. So that's when they're bored now of the TV, they're bored of the computer, they're bored of the gadgets. They want human contact, and that's just not possible, in the present scenario. And so that is really getting people frustrated, and it's getting them more angry and, do silly things like just go out.
Even like your regular supplies was difficult to get hold of. And I don't know for the life of me how all my 17 and 18-year-old young adults, my clients who I've been working with, have had access to a lot of marijuana use and abuse has been happening. That any which ways I feel is a fad, and I think it's almost normalized amongst that age group. Like, it's like, hanging out and smoking up. So that has tremendously gone up because of, from a recreational perspective, and I guess sheer boredom and yet availability despite other aspects not being available.
I think it has spiked how, people's moods. If they are low, then they get temporary highs from using marijuana or any other sort of weed. There are temporary highs with that, and it is instant gratification. So yes, all of this has gone up. It's been a year now that we are, or maybe slightly more than a year, that we're doing online assessments. We haven't really gone back to face-to-face assessments.
We've all had to obviously adapt to the best that we have, which is we just had to go online, from education to telemedicine to therapy, counseling, all of that. And it's so surprising, and I've surprised myself. I think this is the way to go now.
Just like we talk of confidentiality, we also talk of this to the clients that so for me, since I'm alone, I could do that. Other therapists are saying that this is an isolated space, and a lot of therapists are also using headphones so that the clients feel that they are not going to be heard outside. And they say, we will put your camera off if there's somebody coming into the room, but otherwise this room is private. So all those reassurances need to be given to the clients. And of course, a little bit of human touch. So it's okay, that you are coming into my space, so I welcome you into my space.
Actually, I have been practicing remote counseling or virtual counseling since 2015. I used to do it for Pan India. So like somebody in Surat, somebody in Goa, somebody in Dubai. I have always been, long before COVID, into the digital scene. And it was frowned upon by my colleagues, and now everybody's doing the same thing. And it is super effective. In fact, March of this year, when the world started opening up, I went back to my clinic. And I started talking. Now, if somebody's crying, I'll do this, I will give them a hug. Now I can't hug, I can't shake hands. I have to wear the mask. You end up eating your mask when you're trying to talk. People come and sit very close to me, and I say, no, please go and sit on that sofa, like, 8 feet apart. So in fact, now it is tougher to meet in the clinic, because you're so scared. You're scared of everything that you touch, and you're putting that Dettol, and you have the mask, so you can only see the eyes this much. You can't, at least on the screen, I can see, I can see you nodding, I can see you listening. I know that you're not sleeping. I think now virtual is better than physical.
I think the comfort level is not physically being present for a therapist. I think it's more a rapport that you build. So the kind of body language that you manifest with, the choice of words, the levels of empathy that we have through communication, I think that brings about the security, the confidentiality, and the rapport building with our clients.
It took a little longer for parents to understand that, especially mothers, because they feel that it's their inherent duty to take care of children when they're at home, provide them with food all the time.
They're not being able to go to the gym, they're not being able to go play football or whatever activities they were going, and that has led to a lot of eating disorder issues. Difficulties with being bullied online, more access to drugs, more access to looking at how slim people have got, and then having eating disorder issues from there, starting having body image issues because XYZ looks like that, or XYZ been to a party there. So that has got its own problems. It comes with its own set of problems.
When you keep festering on the negatives and looking for things to fight about, you will find hundreds of problems and reasons and rationales, right? Especially with this kind of an environment. But when you keep focusing on the positives, focusing on the good in your partner, in your kids, in your spouses, I think your perception then changes.
Some marriages really strengthened because they have fought it out, the storming has happened, and now norming is happening again, all over again, and they are coming together.
For both of them, there was a escape mechanism. If they are not able to have a strengthened marriage space, if they have not created that marriage space at the healthy level, then they had escape mechanisms to go out for a workspace or for to have a party, whatever it is. But all those has stopped. So there is no other option than to gel with them and be with them.
And even couples who want to get married, they have booked their hotels, they've booked their venues, and it's getting cancelled, and it's going to the next date and the next date, and even the guest numbers keep changing.
Sometimes conflicts naturally arise, right? When you're constantly in each other's faces, obviously, especially with family conflict that's been there before COVID, and when we've all had to, force ourselves to contain ourselves, those conflicts obviously have increased. Teenagers, right, who have, a lot of a need for autonomy, independence, and space, they've conflicted a lot with their parents and their family members. No outlets, poor time management, poor eating habits and unhealthy diets, and of course a whole topsy-turvy aspect with sleep cycles. So I think all this, like I would say, has contributed to the mental health crisis that we're going to be facing.
People are beginning to even recalibrate their own personal choices. In today's session, for example, one guy said that I used to be a perfectionist, but then there is a price for perfectionism because the family is fighting. I think I'm correcting, they think it's cut. So I'm learning to, shut up and bite my tongue and clean up rather than tell people. So I think we are all learning stuff. We've all learned jharu pocha, and we've all learned, cooking and stuff like that. So it's been a great teacher.
We see a lot of what we call post-traumatic stress disorder also, where there is a lot of anxiety associated with what has happened in the past. And people might call it anything, but basically what happens is that if you pass through some very bad experiences, and a lot of my colleagues and a lot of my clients have, where they've seen people dying and they couldn't get a room and things like that, then when you kind of relive these experiences, it becomes extremely traumatic, extremely frightening, and very often stays for a long time period, which will need treatment.
We started chasing so many things, luxury, ye, wo, and career, profession, yahan pahunchna hai, wahan pahunchna hai. But the whole pandemic thought ki slow down, it's okay.
When I think about this question, because I had read it, I was confused. I think it's difficult to foresee or to affirm for sure that this might happen, yehi hoga. But to hypothesize for this, sake of the conversation, I think for some time we will all stay in survival mode.
So the pandemic has certainly affected us. I think all doctors have been affected because we've seen the kind of nonsense in terms of people's reactions at times. All of us have been affected by some death or the other, either with our friends or our family.
What's going to happen to teachers after the pandemic? Because we are stressing all of the mental health profession, the medical profession, and the teaching profession to keep things, going. But when it's over, what's going to happen to them and their mental health is something that it's a larger thing that people have to also be thinking of.
My family, very, very close. My son had it. He went into isolation and my heart was in my mouth. You need to look at the positives that have come in. Like all these big fat weddings have stopped, and we've started curtailing our expenses. We have started recalibrating our choices. So I think it's time first to look after yourself, and you have to find something that gives you joy.
So it has been exhausting at many levels because the demand has increased, the need for people reaching out has increased. I have had to pump in more energy and self-care than what I was used to before 2020. Other than that, I think we are fairly adaptive, so I'm not worried how we will cope if whenever this sort of withers down.
For me, I was brought up with servants, with a silver spoon, and to not have servants, to doing everything yourself, it made me realize my actual potential, and so it felt good that I am able to do so much and balance both work and house life together.
One sentence keeps coming out stronger and stronger in my head is the silver lining concept. Looking for the positives amidst the negatives. I think more mindfulness. So, being more engaged with my kids. I was not that great a dad, I think, before that I am now. So I've dealt with, I think, my own anxiety and I would say burnout, because like I said, 8 to 10 appointments a day is a hell of a lot. And so finding a few moments for myself, I've started meditating. I make sure I eat right and sleep right, hydrate myself, take supplements like magnesium supplements for stress. And I mean, I have to also implement and practice what I advise others to do. I want to look back at this year not for all the pain and the negativity, but look at these fun, beautiful, funny moments that I've got to spend with my family.